Ooh, I'm gonna check out the stream.
Yeah, can you check it out for me? Because I don't want it to like come through the.
Yeah, let's take a look.
It should be. Can you check?
We're live.
Yay! Hello, world, and welcome to Manfried the Man stream featuring Zachary Clemente. Am I saying your last name right?
You are. It's Zachary
Okay.
Clemente. You got it in one.
Okay, I'm always worried that I'm like pronouncing it wrong. And Manfried artist Kelly Basto.
Hello.
So this is going to be pretty chill because I don't have anything really prepared. I'm just going to like draw like some I'm going to do a little animation of Steve, or like start it at least, and we can just talk about anything.
That sounds great.
Cool. Let's do it then. So, tell me about your day.
Kelly, want me to start, or do you want to start?
Yeah, you go ahead, Zach.
Okay. My day was, well, like Afra mentioned, it was wet. It was rainy in Boston. But not like really rainy, just enough where you were. There's that line where you weren't sure if you really wanted to use your umbrella or not. So you kind of carried it around and then just got lightly wet all day. But you never felt like it was enough to use your umbrella. It was that kind of weather. But a beautiful day.
Was it like windy as well?
Not until the evening, and at that point it had stopped raining, thankfully.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but it's a good day. I'm 7-ish months into a new job and I'm really liking it. So it's been still a good day. Haven't really had a bad one at work yet, which is nice.
Good.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with it. Been good.
That's quite a blessing if you like your job.
Yeah, no, it is. I don't know if Caitlin told you or not, but I started like a small press publisher recently, and having like a full-time job that I really like is such a blessing when trying to think about that, like when it comes to the finances of that.
Oh, so cool.
How is but it's Bulgilhan?
Bulgilhan.
Bulgilhan,
it's okay.
Sorry.
Don't
butchering it.
I kind of knew that. I kind of purposely did that. I picked a name that a lot of people are going to struggle with, and that's just what I'm going to have to deal with. Like, it's Korean, and it means sinister. And I remember I told my mom, who's the Korean one of my parents, the name. She's like, "Why did you pick that name? No one's going to pronounce it. You're not going to be able to sell anything."
That's okay, they'll butcher it, and you'll just have to forevermore just be like correcting everyone.
That's sort of what I told her. I'm like, no, they'll buy stuff. They just won't be able to pronounce it, and that's okay.
Yeah, there was this comics publisher in Australia who was named Gestalt or Gestalt, and I still can't even say it properly. But like they were like, nobody really cared that they couldn't say the name of it. You just do your best.
I think it's Gestalt. I think
Gestalt.
That's technically Gestalt.
Yeah.
If you want to be like fancy about it, I don't know.
Still can't pronounce Bakasha. that bread bun.
The bread bun?
Bread bun.
It's like a type of bread.
Oh, focaccia.
Focaccia? Focaccia?
Or focaccia?
Focaccia. It's a hard
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you lucked out. I'm also half Italian.
Yeah, you're gonna be correcting us all night.
Well, unfortunately, I don't speak Italian. I just know how some things are supposed to be pronounced, which I'm not sure is actually better, because it just makes me a pedant. I'm a heretical pedant, if that makes I guess is how that goes.
Yeah, like there's this sandwich place here in Toronto called Porchetico, but I always called it Porchetico, and then like one of my workmates whose girlfriend was Italian, he kept like, he relished in correcting me, and so I just like stubbornly like refused to pronounce it correctly. I'm like, no, it's Porchetico.
I did not know that porchetta was pronounced porchetta.
Yeah. I guess like pork. Porchetta?
No, it's like the CCCH thing. Like my dad gets all up in it for no reason because he doesn't really speak Italian either. But I remember when I lived in Southern California when I was in like late middle school and high school, and that was back when Coachella was like accessible and easy to get to, and
Right.
not 2 weekends in a row of the same set, which is still very weird to me. So I went a couple times, and every time I mentioned it, my dad would just start on this tangent about how it was pronouncing correctly.
How's
And
it
it was
supposed
like-
to be said?
Well, I don't think he's pronouncing it like an Italian pronounce when it was definitely like a Spanish name.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
So he was like, it should be like Coachella. It's like something really wrong, something that wouldn't be pronounced by the people who like named the valley.
Right.
Right.
Right,
So
right, because there weren't
yeah.
Italians there
They
at
were
the
not.
time. It would have been Spanish, yeah.
they were Spanish.
I didn't realize that the music festival was named after the place that it was held.
Yeah, it's like the Coachella Valley or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look it up because I have an extremely clacky keyboard and that would be rude.
No Googling on the live
No
stream.
googling, yeah.
We must rely on our knowledge alone.
It's
our own
funny. Actually,
brains.
I've been reading through. It wasn't released. Like there was this series on Gizmodo, I think, about this woman who each week she cut out a different tech giant from her life,
Oh,
like
wow.
entirely. And she did one by one. So the week one she did like Amazon, and then week two was Apple, then week three was Google, then week four was Facebook. Then week five was like Microsoft, and then she did a week of all of them.
Wow.
It's impossible. You almost can't live your life. But I forgot how I got there from this. Was it Google? Yeah, she
using
couldn't
your
Google
brain.
anything.
Yeah,
She couldn't Google anything.
you just had to like guess back in the old days.
Yeah, so she had to use like there are other search engines out there that are just frankly less good at what they do.
Like Bing.
No, Bing's Microsoft. Couldn't use Bing.
Oh right.
Yeah, she got really granular with it too. Like, she couldn't use anything that was hosted on AWS, which is Amazon's web services.
Oh, interesting.
So she literally she couldn't use like 75% of modern websites. Like straight up, it's a really interesting thing. I've been thinking about it myself because I'm very scared of Amazon.
Right. Yeah.
And I've been like trying to figure out how one quote unquote divests from Amazon. And
I got really bummed out because I had an Audible account and I really liked it, and then I realized that it was owned by Amazon, and I was like, oh man. Anyway, I don't have it anymore.
No, it's rough.
I love audiobooks.
Yeah, it's really it's really hard. Like, I do a lot of like ordering for my job, like a lot of tech ordering, and oftentimes I need things like short notice,
Right.
and are really weird. And I've noticed that like things I could order, like things of a similar ilk, like weird adapters that do this exact specific thing, or like this kind of USB cable,
Right.
which were easy to order like 10 years ago from like weird, kind of shady, but ultimately reliable websites, is impossible anymore because all of them go through Amazon as like a marketplace. Like they sell through.
Right. It's just like the easiest place to put
Yeah.
everything because everyone's going to go there.
Yeah, and you just like kind of can't avoid it. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to immediately like make this like stream like a weird like economic bummer.
No, that's
it
fine.
It was really interesting to like read this woman like who she has like kids and a family, and how she had like went through a lot of social struggle to get this for this experiment. Like how much effort would it take to cut these tech giants out of your life? And the answer is kind of too much effort. Like it's
right,
not.
yeah, like too much effort for the average person who's not like going out of their way to do it.
I mean, it's kind of impossible. Like there's so many things. Like if you cut Google out, for instance, if you pay your taxes manually, like the IRS, at least in the U.S., the IRS uses some Google Analytics in the background, like as an API. So that would be, you couldn't file your taxes if you did it unless you did it through a third party.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
And you can't like file your taxes on paper anymore.
I don't know. So as part of having a small business, I've chosen to use an accountant.
That makes sense.
Because I didn't want to shaft myself immediately. which has been a great joy. Shout out to Diana O'Brien. She's amazing. Great accountant.
Ooh, go Diana.
But yeah, if I tried to do it manually and didn't want to use Google, I basically couldn't have. So that's alarming. That's something I've been learning this week. I've been reading all of her articles. This woman who did this test all week, and it's been interesting because I work at a very like tech centric, but also tech aware and and like empathy based awareness kind of place. And everyone has been really fascinated to hear me, like, as the technology administrator for the studio, talk about my qualms with tech. They've been very curious about that, which has been an interesting series of conversations.
Yeah, it's so creepy. Like, in a few years, there's gonna be like 6 companies that just own everything.
Yeah. The joke I make is like, I can't wait to, pay for things with Amazon chit.
Oh,
and
God.
I don't know. I know, it's so
It's so depressing when you like think of the day-to-day of it. You're just like, well, like there's probably not going to be an alternative, so like you're just going to have to be fine with it. But at the same time, you're like, oh, that's so depressing.
It is. Oh God, it is.
You just gotta like go off grid.
Yeah, go and live in the forest.
And it has to be like a full life commitment. Like your life will never be the same. Like you can't really go back to certain things. And there are like real world ramifications. Like if you want to promote your comic,
Right?
good luck.
Yeah.
Without Twitter, or at least without like some kind of social media presence of any kind, like it gets really challenging.
Staple it to telephone poles.
That sounds great. I like that idea.
Do like the old school like zine mailing list thing where you like mail physical copies of it out and you like have a PO box.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking of doing that for the press. Like, I have no interest in selling anything through like the Amazon marketplaces or anything like that. Like the most I'll do is probably like sell it through my own website and sell at shows and stuff like that. And maybe do like warehouse orders like to comic shops and like I don't know, like small press bookstores.
Yeah.
But
it's so much like logistics as well. If you don't go through a middleman to like organize it all.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm a little scared of actually. So I found somebody who's gonna handle my like fulfillment, so I won't have to actually like physically ship and store this shit.
Oh, that's good.
Because that would be just I have like a fairly small Boston apartment room. That would be untenable. That would be not. Like, I'm trying to remember if I can put it in perspective for you, Caitlin, because I stayed at your house for a week for TCAF last year.
That's right, yeah.
And I think my room is about as big as your bedroom, maybe a little smaller. I think it's a little smaller.
Right, and so that's just a room in like a share house.
Yeah, and like they're all like everyone who lives here is like a good friend, which is nice. But I think I would feel it's unacceptable for me to take up half a living room with boxes of comics.
Boxes, yeah, at least that place that Matt and I had, it was all us on the top floor.
Yeah. How is the new place? How's that? How is it?
It's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy.
Great.
We're in like a condo building now, and we're like on the 12th floor. We have this crazy view of the city. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of rules, right? If it's like the right price and the right everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a pain in the ass when we found out that we had to move, and I was like, it's just bad timing. Like, I had the deadline for Manfried happening, and I was like working, and everything was kind of like piling on at once, but it all worked out in the end somehow.
Yeah. I remember like I messaged you because we were going to do this
like
podcast,
last year,
like a while ago, like September or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what's up? And you're like, oh, I'm in an Airbnb. I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, that's right. We lived in an Airbnb for a month. It's like I've like erased it from my memory.
Right. I don't blame you.
Yeah, things got pretty wild around September, October last year.
Right.
Yeah. But we got everything done in the end. We got the book shipped. So Manfried Saves the Day is going to be out in May. Are you coming up for TCAF again this year?
I plan on it.
Nice.
We could talk about that separately.
Right.
But I do hope to do the same like 2-week. I called it like a festival organizer like residency.
Right.
And I've been talking with like Chris and Miles and folks at TCAF, and they seem totally down to have me again. So
Cool.
yeah, I'll be back for 2 weeks. I think actually I'm going to do 2 full weeks of work instead of like a week and some change with like sightseeing and stuff. I think I'm going to
Yeah.
actually dedicate the 2 weeks to pretty much exclusively working on TCAF.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I had such a fun time. I really, really enjoyed it. And also, depending on how things go, it might be the last time I'm able to work the show itself.
Right.
Because if I start tabling for the press, I can like help with the show ahead of time because a few people do that. And like still help maybe like run after party events or something, or like
Yeah.
Saturday evening events. But if I'm running a table, I can't do both.
Yeah.
And I definitely will be nowhere near big enough to have somebody run my table for me.
You don't have that kind of cash flow yet.
No, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. We'll be having another launch party, so you got to come this time.
Oh, I really should.
Then, I don't care if like Rumiko Takahashi is in town and she's having it on the same night as us. Although I would be completely bummed that I wouldn't be able to go see her.
Right. Well, don't put it on the Thursday before TCAF is all I'm saying.
Well, no, it is on the Thursday before TCAF, and the reason is because people are in town for it.
Oh man.
Zach, are you gonna let me down again?
Okay, Chris will kill me. Chris will kill me dead if I tell you like who some of the guests are. But oh man, that's tough.
I got too many rivals.
I'll have to split into 2 people to make this happen.
I'm gonna have to go and like start murdering some folks. I have to go and like off my competition.
Oh, no. Well, wait until like.
Between this and Shitty Wizards, there's too many murdering references.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm too murderous.
I would like, for the record, I didn't advocate any murder. It was definitely all Caitlin.
Yeah, everybody knows that I'm down for a little bit of murder. If you listen to my other live stream, Shitty Wizard, nobody gets hurt. It's all in good fun.
Yeah, nothing bad with cartoons, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, like you kill someone in a cartoon, they're back the very next day. No harm, no foul.
No foul. That's definitely how cartoons work.
Pretty silly.
And no one ever gets mad about cartoons ever.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody has ever tried to like unravel the logic of a cartoon. What kind of madman would do that?
Absolutely. Not the slightest.
Nobody has ever made like a hour-long YouTube video about the plot holes in a cartoon before, have they?
Have you actually ever watched any of those videos?
No, as if. I don't have time for that.
Good. No, you're saving yourself a whole lot of headache, but there was a couple moments where I did watch a couple videos like that. They are just as bad as you think they are. I'm not sure why I thought for some reason it would be like an enjoyable use of my time. It most assuredly wasn't.
Which one did you watch?
I don't even remember. I think it was something... It was like an hour-long video.
Jesus.
About... It was like some anime show. I was only half-heartedly watching anyway, so I wasn't even that invested.
Like, that's even worse because, like, if you can't accept the fact that anime doesn't make sense sometimes, like, you're watching the wrong thing.
I guess so. It was like... I think what was weird is because it was a show I didn't care a lot about. I found not the guy's points weren't compelling, but I found his dedication very compelling. Because I went
to so much effort.
Yeah, because I didn't care about the source material, so I wasn't like personally invested in whether he was right or wrong. I was just really fascinated by how much time and effort and production went into this like argument. He had like nice microphones and like a good setup, and the video had like 30 views.
Oh no!
Like, I don't know.
This was gonna be the thing that got him like to 100,000 views.
This was like a year ago. I don't think it's changed.
His next one is gonna go viral.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
He just needs to pick the right property, right? Like he needs to do a Kingdom Hearts video or something, and then everyone will watch it.
I need to know, what is Kingdom Hearts to the two of you?
I played the the first and the second one, and I actually bought the third one, and I'm trying to play through it right now, but it's like, it's difficult. It's difficult to get through.
I've never played it. I've just kind of heard of it.
Yeah, I'm with Kelly. Like I ultimately know a lot about it because of the company I keep.
Right.
But I've never played them.
Well, like, I mean, it appealed to me great. The first one appealed to me a lot when I was a teenager because I was really, really into Final Fantasy, and I was like, finally, I get to see my favorite Final Fantasy characters all over again in a different setting. And that was great. And then the second one, it was like, I was a little bit older, and I was like, yeah, nostalgic sake, I'll play this game, and it was okay, but it was a bit confusing. And then what's it been, like, almost 10, I think it's like 7 years since the second one came out, and now they released the third one.
I think it was
and
longer.
It's just like a completely unintelligible mess. Like, I have no idea who anyone is. There's these like 20-minute long cutscenes that you have to sit through before you can play the game for like 10 minutes. And then there's another 20-minute long cutscene, and it's all just complete nonsense. I have no idea what's going on half the time, and they don't even have the dignity to give you a skip cutscene button so that you can just skip past all of the nonsense and like get to building a stupid gummy ship. I was like, God damn you!
Caitlin, I broke one of the only rule you've told me about this podcast so far, or live stream. I looked it up. It's been 13 years.
Really? 13 years? Oh
13
my God.
years.
That's crazy.
That is so long. That is so much time.
It's like the nostalgia value isn't even, like, it's not worth the same anymore because everything has been remade like a bajillion times, and like Disney's no longer this like cute thing from my childhood. It's now like, oh, it's just this gross media conglomerate.
Yeah.
The money machine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like part of me again. Like it's. I think maybe I'm not attracted to, but like I find the appeal in concepts or things that I'm not interested in, but I like people are very interested in on some level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like when Kingdom Hearts came out, I was like, oh, these Final Fantasy characters are like have to deal with Disney shit. Oh no. And I think I actually would have really enjoyed it had I actually played it instead of just deriding it like a horrible nerd.
Like the first game was genuinely like super fun to play, and it did have a lot of like your favorite Final Fantasy characters in it, so it was kind of worth it. But everything since then has been very downhill.
I'm just like fascinated by how dedicated to like how weird it is, like the naming conventions, the prequels and the sequels and the timelines, and
like the worst, like it would, all of that side shit would be totally fine if they didn't make it canon in like the big games that are like their kind of main release, because it's like,
right.
You know that most of the people who are buying and playing this game have not bothered to go and play the mobile game that was only released in Japan or whatever. It's like, why are you including characters from that in your main storyline? Like, it's fine to have spin-offs and like side characters and shit happen on the side, but I
do wonder what their player like fan base is like in Japan, like the ones who got all the games.
Right. And cuz like the gameplay of this new one is like, it's not like it's super advanced, so it's like, I mean, you would think that the target audience for this game is kids, but like no kid is going to want to sit through a 20-minute cutscene where you're like talking utter nonsense. Like, they're not interested in that. They're just going to go play Minecraft.
Oh man, do kids still play Minecraft, or is it just like a Fortnite world now?
No, I don't know. I don't know what the kids are into. I'm too old for that.
We're out of touch with the youth.
Yeah.
It happens. I feel like it happens faster than I thought it would. Like, I'm about to turn like 29 in March, and I interact with my like 15-year-old cousins, and it is an entirely different language.
Really?
Like
I don't even interact with anyone who's younger than like 25, so I have no idea.
I think if not for my cousins, I probably wouldn't. And there's actually a fair number of kids who come to the studio. We got a lot of newer to new-ish parents in the studio, so we get a lot of kids coming through.
Right.
Yeah, lots of Fortnite.
Well, at
Like,
least you can
that's not
encourage them to read comics and stuff.
Yeah, but I don't like the comics they do for the most part. That's a tough
Oh,
one. They're always like, oh yeah, this guy makes comics. He loves comics, and they're like, oh yeah, what do you think of this superhero? I'm like, I don't. And I can fake it. I can fake it up to a point.
Like they're not even into manga anymore? The
I mean,
youths?
I think that's actually. I don't know. I think manga is broadening as far as readership goes. It's like an Ouroboros. Like manga publishers are getting better at the cycles and finding their audiences and making it legit and undo levy-ifying the whole process.
Right.
And the readers are there for it, and also the readers who were growing up with it in like the 90s and 80s and 90s have ideally more income and money and can
Right.
keep supporting titles. And there are new readers. I wonder how much of it is like genuinely a lot of young kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I have a couple of friends who would probably know better than I would. But I've never actually asked. That's actually an interesting thing. I don't know because when we were growing up, manga was everything for me.
Yeah,
At least.
right?
Yeah.
It was
like
like I wasn't gonna read a superhero comic when I had like Sailor Moon.
right. Like the only superhero comic I ever read until like late high school or early college was like this weird X-Men book I had bought at the Scholastic Book Fair, which was more of an explainer about X-Men than it was really a comic at all.
Yeah, I was way more into like the Marvel cartoons than the comics. Like I liked the X-Men cartoon and the
Yeah.
Spider-Man cartoon and stuff, but like I never and like cuz comics were hard to come by as well. Like it wasn't until I was like a teenager and I was able to like go to the comic book store, which was like, you know, an hour-long train ride away from my suburban house. And by that stage I was like, I'm not wasting my time and money on these superheroes. I want to read softcore porn in the form of manga. Like,
I feel like you and I
guys.
talked about this when I was in Toronto, that like how hard it was for you to like actually go get comics
Yeah,
physically.
yeah. Yeah, like it was far away. Like you had to really want to go and find them.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's really funny. So like I grew up in like when I started getting more into media and understanding what I actually liked, I had moved to San Diego, which is like the home of the biggest comic con in the world. It is mostly up until kind of recently bereft of good comic stores.
Oh, really?
Like there's like not many of them because I guess people who live there weren't super.
Right, it was more like people were coming in from
Yeah,
elsewhere.
and I don't know the whole like demographic breakdown and stuff, but yeah, like there just didn't seem to be enough of a community or enough of a big readership to sustain more than a couple of stores, and none of them were very friendly. Like I remember going to them as a kid trying to get into stuff, and I was like, you know, one of the manga kids, so
Yeah.
I was coming at it from sideways, and I would always get shit for it. Like I didn't feel like I was being obnoxious. I was just like, oh, do you carry this? I'm like, oh, we don't carry that. I'm like, well, why not? It's like
Yeah.
the same thing, right?
I mean, I was lucky that my local comic book store was at least like staffed by friendly dudes who were like, they didn't care if you were reading superhero comics or manga. Like they would sell you like whatever you wanted.
Yeah, that's good.
And they would stock, like I remember at one point they were stocking like web comics that had been printed, and I was like, that's so cool. Like
Oh, hell yeah.
you could get copies of Mega Tokyo, the graphic novel. Or like Penny Arcade's books.
Oh my god. So oh my god, I have to tell you something. So I, like most people, stopped reading Mega Tokyo eons ago. Like genuinely eons ago. I have a dear friend who is stubborn to a fault and kept reading it kind of out of like morbid curiosity more than anything else. I don't think it is actually out of true interest.
Right.
But I remember once where she messaged me out of the blue, and for some reason I knew exactly what she meant when she messaged me. There was no context, but all she said is, Zach, they're about to fuck.
What?
Apparently the scene that Juliet happened upon when she went back after like a year to check in how things are going was like was it Kimiko and Piro were like going to a love hotel by choice.
Wow. Oh my god.
I know.
Yeah, I definitely left well before that ever happened. I often do like wonder. I mean, I haven't ever bothered to go back to the website or anything, but I do wonder, like, is it still going? Like, are they still making it?
I think technically yes, but it's sort of like once in a blue moon they'll drop a page kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know if there's an end game in sight. I don't know any, but it seems to not be done yet. Is the answer.
That's wild. Wow. The old Mega Tokyo days.
But it like makes you wonder, like, what would Fred Gallagher do otherwise? Like,
yeah,
what would
because like I always was under the impression that at some point he had like given up his day job to pursue this comic full time, and then like it was after that point that updates started getting really like spotty, and you were like, you quit your day job to do this. Like, what else are you doing?
I mean, there was like a whole bunch of stuff with like health issues in his family and all kinds of stuff. Like, it got really, like, it was like a very bad timing for him, if I remember correctly. Like,
right.
Like, it was actually truly kind of like unfortunate, the timing. But it just sort of seems like at least Mega Tokyo as a property never recovered.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like he and his family are doing better.
Right.
But I think maybe part of that was the fact that he doesn't do Mega Tokyo as much.
Right. It just got too stressful.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
They were definitely there at the start, though, so you got to give them that.
Oh, for sure. Like it's I don't know. Like I think it's definitely me, but I don't keep track of webcomics much anymore, so I have no idea how big they are anymore.
Yeah, like I've tried now every now and then to like follow stuff on Tapas, but I'm not really like part of the community, and I just kind of keep forgetting. And I mean, honestly, like I don't read much of anything anymore. I'm just the worst.
I mean, I'm kind of with you. I have like stacks of books over the past 2 years of like conventions and galleys and whatnot, and I just haven't touched most of them.
Yeah, like when we were unpacking in the new place, I was like unpacking all these books, like, oh yeah, I gotta read that. I gotta make sure I read that. And just now they're like on the shelf, and who knows if I'll ever touch them again.
Yeah, maybe the reason that book people were so mad about Marie Kondo is because of guilt. They felt bad they haven't read these books yet.
Right,
and they were supposed to, and now it's just the guilt manifests into like vicious anger about the fact they should get rid of these books so they're never gonna read.
I wish that I like did have the mental focus to like sit down and read a book again. Like my main problem with reading a book is that like I can never just sit down and read like a little bit of it. It's like I have to finish the whole thing in one sitting. So then it's like, I've got to dedicate my entire day to this now. Like I'm going to be up until 2 a.m.
No, for sure. I've found out that like whenever I go to like a show, like I went to Kala, like Comics Arts LA over December. I went for like a week and a half because my parents live out there, so it was really good timing. I found the best time for me to read all the comics I buy is like on the plane home.
Yes.
Is my like last chance to read them.
Yeah, it's like you gotta do it.
I never will.
You gotta take them on the plane with you, otherwise they're just like they're gonna like end up in a stack next to your bed, and then eventually you're gonna be like, I gotta get rid of these books. I gotta move them and put them on your shelf.
Yeah, you make a different stack on your shelf.
They're all dusty.
Yeah.
Oh god, they are.
Yeah.
And like at first I was like, oh, my room just gets dusty. It does get dusty, but I remember when I did like a big reorganization of my books because I have built-in shelving in my room, which is great until it's not, because it is very enabling. And I bought like those like partially cut open like magazine holders that you can get from like office stores.
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of those for like all of the like single issues and stuff that I have.
Yeah, I got them for zines. I got the idea from. Do you know who Kathy G. Johnson is?
I think I follow her on Twitter, but I don't know if I know it personally.
Yeah, so they're a friend of mine. They live in the New England area and teach and run the comic circuit in that area. And I got the idea from them. Theirs is much more organized, like actual nameplates with alphabetized, like everything. Mine is whatever fit,
Yeah. Well, like the plan,
And
the plan
so much
that
dust.
the plan that we had for our ones, and I'm just looking at them now, is that like we found that we'd had some like double ups of comics. Like maybe Matt and I had both got the same comic at a convention, like we both bought the same thing, so we were gonna like cut them up and like paste them over as like a little like comic decoration, and then
Yeah.
and then so I like bought the things, and then I like put the comics in there and I put them on the shelf, and then I was like, these are never moving again. These live here now.
Yeah,
That craft project, it's not happening.
I've only ever met one friend who had like the gumption to actually like decoupage with their comics.
Oh yeah?
Like I've come close a couple of times, and I've just never felt like I wouldn't be cursed by the comics god.
Yeah, I did
doing...
I did feel a little bit bad, but I was like, well, they are just doubles. Like it's not like it's the only one that we have. Like it's just stuff that we had two of for some reason.
Yeah, totally.
Surely they wouldn't hate me too much.
Right. And it's been like ones where like I have multiple iterations of certain comics. So like I don't like a lot of Cape comics, but some of the ones I do I like a lot. So I have like 4 different iterations of like All-Star Superman.
Right.
And it's like the other ones, like the single issue ones, which aren't worth any money, and have ads in them. I could probably do something with them, and I'm just like, no, it's gonna sit and collect dust because I feel bad if I cut them up. And I've just never gotten past that. And I haven't thought about it in years, and now I feel bad about it again.
I'm sorry. I'm bringing up some bad mojo. What's that?
You're bringing back the memories of the discarded.
It's a touchy subject.
Yeah, I guess so. Man, I gotta do a decluttering.
All right, what was the last book that you read?
Oh shit. I think the last book that I read, like a physical book, as opposed to my truly awful reread of all of Bleach, but that was digital. I read the 12th volume of a really excellent manga series called Ajin, Ajin.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a Vertical book. Vertical is a manga publisher. It's like, I think they're partially owned by Random House, or they're distributed by Random House. I can't remember. My friend Ed Chavez helped launch them. He has since moved on. But this is one of the books he helped pick up, and Ajin's really good. It's super bloody and weird, and I like it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's about like a world very much like ours, but in it there's like these creatures called demi-humans, which look human, and for all intents and purposes are human, but they can't properly die. So like if they die, they pretty much immediately come back, and either that means like what's it called, reformation or whatever. But it goes down an interesting like kind of scientific question route.
Oh, cool.
Like let's say a person dies from like dehydration, and they sort of reset, like what is resetting, like how do they reform matter and like regrow muscle mass and stuff, like after all that dehydration. Like how does that happen? And their answer to that is like this weird unknown like element which they sort of like generate, or they can make in their bodies that other humans can't.
Oh, cool.
And the way they sort of make this into like a grotesque action flick style thing is they can manifest this material, which is purely transparent, as these like creepy, like 10-foot tall, mummified, like voiceless, like humanoid, gangly, like bloodborne beasts that can fight each other, and it's sick. The action's really cool. They do some really neat like setups where that could only be done in the way their universe works. That are just really grotesque, but kind of awesome. It's a really enjoyable series. I've been liking a lot, and it comes out maybe like twice a year in like a small little volume, so I can just have one really good 60-minute bite of something and put it down.
What about you, Kelly? What was the last book that you read?
Is this like a comic book or like a book?
Just anything, any book or comic book or whatever. Fan fiction.
Um,
No, we're not going to count fan fiction.
We should definitely count fanfiction. I want someone to talk about fanfiction.
Okay,
Oh.
fan fiction
my
then.
favorite fan fiction update the other day. I was so excited.
Oh, that's good.
But
What kind of fanfiction is it? Of what property?
Uh,
or whatever?
Undertale.
Oh, that's exciting.
You're still on Undertale?
Yes. Anyway, Luke sent me this manga. Oh my gosh, what was it called? Princess Jellyfish or something Jellyfish?
Oh yeah, Princess Jellyfish.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
That's a great series.
Like nerdy. I actually didn't finish it, but I started it and it was really good. It's like these nerdy girls who are obsessed with different things, and they all live in a house together.
Oh,
So good.
cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the main girl's like obsessed with jellyfish, like since she was young, like obsessed. And like she goes to this pet store and like she sees this jellyfish like in a tank with another jellyfish like being mistreated. But because she's like an ugly loser, the guy doesn't take her seriously.
What?
And so this like beautiful woman steps out of nowhere and was like, "No, like you need to listen to this girl and like save this jellyfish." And he's like, "Hamana." He's like, "Oh, okay." They like take home the jellyfish and save it and like develop a friendship, even though this girl is like really pretty and fashionable. Turns out it's only a man in drag.
Oh,
And, like,
the
other
lady
nerdy girls-
is?
The beautiful woman who comes out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a friendship, but like then the pretty fashionable woman like goes to the house but then gets kicked out because men are forbidden.
Oh.
And yeah, I didn't finish it all the way, but they're just navigating their friendship, and it's very quirky and beautiful.
That sounds rad.
It's a really good series. Like,
Yeah, I should check it
I'm really
out.
glad it found a really good audience in the US. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, apparently it's like super popular. I didn't know.
I have like
Yeah.
seen it around, but I just like I never knew what it was about, and anyway, I just never picked it up. But I should check it out.
That's cool. I like that.
Nice.
Can I tell you about the time that I met Toby Fox?
Sure.
So this
You could
is-
tell that Kelly knows who that is, and I don't.
He's the guy who made Undertale. So this is years before Undertale. This is like 2011, 2010. This is like primo Homestuck years. I went to school in Western Mass, and at that time, Andrew Hussey, creator of Homestuck and friend of Toby Fox, who was also working on Homestuck, lived 15 minutes from my college. And I ran like the comic club there, and we brought Andrew Hussey in for like a Q&A because we could.
Nice.
That was the first time that I had an actual run-in with 4chan. They reached out to me asking if we could set up a live stream, and I said no. Like, absolutely not. Like, no, I value my life. And we had a Q&A. It was really full. Like 100 people showed up, which is pretty impressive because it wasn't a very big school. So like that shows you how many people were reading Homestuck at my school. It was a lot of them.
Wow.
And like Toby Fox drove out for it.
Wow.
And
Did
like
he
stayed.
Did he come far?
I don't remember how far he was living at the time. I don't think it was too far, but it was like far enough that it was surprising because it was just like an evening thing.
Mm.
And like we took him out to dinner, which was fun, and like they came over and like played some Smash or something. I can't quite remember all the details.
Was he a nice
Um,
guy?
And then like Toby Fox crashed in our mod, which is like an apartment on campus maintained by housing that the school owned. And like he crashed there and like left us a bunch of sticky notes about how like he had hidden his piss around the mod. He had not done this. Like he had not actually done this, but he left like all these weird like kind of very on brand for like sweet bro hella Jeff kind of humor around the apartment. And that is my Toby Fox story. I doubt he remembers us, and that's a-okay. I don't need him to. I'm just happy to know that I had this weird experience involving Andrew Hussey, Toby
Is
Fox.
he a nice fella?
When I met him, he was a very he was like 17. He was sweet. He was very nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love Undertale so much, I'm just praying that he doesn't turn out to be a dick
Oh.
or like does anything problematic.
In my
Yeah.
experience, in my like 22-hour experience, he was quite kind. He was nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I recently got a tattoo and it's like low key Undertale characters.
Amazing.
So I just yeah. I just
You don't want to regret that later.
yeah,
Oh,
no,
sure, yeah.
I hope Toby Fox is a nice guy.
No, I understand. That's like one of the things that's kept me from like truly getting a tattoo that's like from something. Except for my first one, it's definitely from something.
Oh, what
But-
was it from?
Did you ever play that video game called Journey?
Rings a bell.
It was like a red cloaked person, like kind of like surfing and like gliding through this like very beautiful deserty ruin area. It was like a PS3 launch title, I want to say, or like close to launch title.
I didn't realize it came out that long ago.
Yeah, it came out on my birthday, I think, March 14th, 2012.
Oh wow.
I'm pretty certain. It came out really close, I think. I remember like it being my birthday, it was getting close to the end of the semester and my time in college. And I was feeling a lot of feelings after this game. And it was really cool because the way it worked is you played as this like cipher. You didn't have a character name, you didn't have a voice. You could chirp, like you press a button and you like chirp. And you get assigned this sort of semi-randomized sigil or glyph, like that's who you were. And you chirp and it would show the sigil, and the game was sort of famous for really simplifying online play, so you could occasionally get matched with somebody else randomly, and you couldn't like talk, you could chirp at each other.
Right.
And typically the idea was you sort of help each other through the challenges, and then depending on connection, depending on algorithm, you would eventually part ways or stick it out to the very end, which is really like, it's a very poetic kind of game. It's a very simple, like, hero's journey kind of story, like very straightforward in that sense, but it worked really well for like a gameplay mechanic standpoint. And I got a huge attachment to the sigil I was like assigned, essentially. So directly after the game came out, I knew I've been wanting a tattoo for a long time. I knew I wanted something symbolic. So I contacted the devs like the day after the game came out. I'm like, hey, loved your game, I love it so much, do you think you could send me like the sigils that are used in the game, because I couldn't get a picture of it fast enough
Right.
to see which to like accurately put down which one was mine. And they got back to me really quickly and sent me like a really high res image of all of them.
Oh,
And I
that's
found
cool.
mine. Yeah, they were super kind about it. I don't think they knew I was getting a tattoo.
Oh,
They
right.
like, yeah, they didn't know. Then like a few months later, I sort of emailed them back like, hey, I got a tattoo of this thing, and they were like really surprised and happy about it. And like over the years, I've since met people who have like worked on the project and have moved on, and they're like, is that a Journey tattoo? I'm like, yeah, like I think I saw that floating around the office. Like, it came out, like, yeah, that was me. Like, I got a tattoo really early on of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, none of the rest of mine are like from anything, but so far this one's treated me okay.
My first tattoo, I got covered up by another tattoo.
That's right. What was your first tattoo? I can't remember now.
It was an album cover for a band
That's
called
right. That's right.
What was the band name?
the Dresden Dolls. I don't know if you know
Oh, I
Amanda
do know.
Palmer. It's her
yeah,
old
I do
band.
know. Yeah.
Which, like, me and Luke went to go see Amanda Palmer a couple of years ago, so I'm still a fan of her.
What's that, sorry?
I tweeted about how salty. That's not why I covered it up, but
Oh, no. I think Skype was just breaking up a bit. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, Skype broke up a tiny bit.
yeah, I tweeted at her about my tattoo, but she didn't respond, and I got salty. But that's not why I covered up the tattoo.
That's super funny.
Like, you don't deserve my
Yeah.
skin space.
It's kind of funny. I don't know what
Yeah,
it is
Luke's-
about. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. Luke said like she's gonna finally get back to you, like, oh my God, Kelly, I saw your tattoo, and I'm gonna be like, it's too late now.
You missed your
You
chance.
blew it.
Yeah.
You blew it. I had to pay more money to get another tattoo on the same spot. I don't know what it is about your tattoos and my life experiences, but I've been in her house before.
Whoa.
Oh,
So
really?
there was a period of time where she lived in Cambridge. I think it was because she was like being close to a friend who was fighting some kind of deadly medical. I think a friend had cancer. So she and Neil moved to Cambridge for a while, and being that they're very wealthy now, they rented a mansion
Oh my God.
in Cambridge near Harvard, and uh, a couple of friends of mine lived at a mansion nearby, specifically because it was um, the owner, I guess owner and occupant, was this extremely autistic man who was in his 60s or so and could not like basically be unattended. He was, very, very far on the spectrum. He couldn't take care of himself. So his parents had left a huge endowment to, have people watch over him. So they had about 10 people live in the mansion who could basically rent very cheaply or even free, depending how much they worked to take care of this gentleman. So I had a couple of friends who did that through grad school because they could like be really close to Harvard and pay almost no rent, and also get like a small stipend and meals covered and stuff. So it's like a really good deal if you're emotionally capable of handling these situations. So I would go over sometimes when like the gentleman was sleeping or somewhere else, and we would like hang out for a little bit, play some games or something. And one of them was in Neil Gaiman's writing group because he wanted a local writing group and people were close and Harvard was right there. And I went a couple times.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was really weird.
What did you learn? Did you learn all the
li-
secrets of the trade?
I didn't. I think the secret. I didn't learn any secrets. I just went. I think I went for like it wasn't like a housewarming, but it was like a small like quiet party kind of thing. It was kind of sad because they never really properly moved into this expansion, from what I remember. Like, they kind of like had dropped stuff and like they were traveling a lot.
Right.
So it was like it wasn't fully furnished and it didn't feel very lived in, which was kind of sad. And then, eventually they moved out again. But I was briefly in their home.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was weird.
Did you get to hear Neil Gaiman say something British?
Yeah, I did.
Did he offer you a cup of tea?
He didn't, because he offered me a glass of wine.
I guess that'll have to do.
It was in the evening. It was too late for caffeine, I'm sure.
My favorite thing that British people say is, "You what?"
Wait, so remind me, Kelly, are you also originally from Australia, or is this just like Caitlin and Matt thing?
No, I'm from the east coast of Canada.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
But I dated their Australian buddy who came over with him.
Nice.
Yeah, you met Luke, didn't you?
Yeah, I met Luke. Yeah, I made pasta for Luke, and also you.
That's right. Yeah, you did too.
More like I made pasta for you and then Luke.
Yeah, and then Luke was just there. He just happened to be there.
Luke was also there. We can
Gave
do
me a very positive feedback.
It's only gotten better. I've only gotten better at it.
Yeah, that was good. That was good pasta.
Yeah, next time I'll do pasta and meatballs.
Ooh.
No, not your pasta, just you as a person.
Oh. Yeah, well, I like Luke a lot too. Very funny.
A+, wood friendship again.
Yeah. Although soon this friendship will be worthless to you because I won't have an inside scoop on TCAF. This is the last year I'll have that for you, probably.
Nah, well. I'm not tabling at TCAF this year, but Matt is.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Kelly,
I
did
am
you... You're tabling?
Yes, on the 3rd floor.
Nice. That's good.
Oh yeah, because Luke tabled last time, so you can sort of swap off back and forth.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we considered, so I help run MICE out in Boston, which is like TCAF, but significantly smaller because the US does not care about the arts, whereas Canada kind of does.
Right, yeah, TCAF get the arts funding, right?
Yeah, so TCAF gets arts funding from Canada, Ontario, and Toronto, all independently of each other.
Nice.
Which rules. It's well deserved and like a great, excellent thing, but like that means that TCAF's operating budget is like 20 times that of mice, which is great. Like, it's kind of cool seeing both sides of the coin, where I get to sort of have a little bit of hand in this colossal operation, which I don't really know how these, like, essentially 3.5 people get it done. And then I work a lot on mice, which is like an 8-person, 9-person operation, of exclusively volunteers. But we considered for a little bit doing something like TCAF, where it's like the every other year model, but we ended up not doing that and sort of going for a more curatorial approach, because we know our community better and we have less tables and less people apply, so we can kind of spend the time to think it through a little more and make a few more decisions that TCAF has chosen not to, just be one out of just timing. But yeah, it's they have to move fast.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, because they get like 900 applications.
Jeez, really?
I know, and like I remember I had people messaging me because they knew I knew the process a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, it's a hold up." Like, well, one of it is that Chris Butcher is one of the people who does some of the curation and some of the judging, and he was like back and forth to Japan like twice in a month.
Right.
So like I don't know when he had the time. Yeah, I don't know how he does it.
I mean, I guess like lots of plane rides gives you time to look at stuff. I guess.
You have to like pre-download it. You have like reliable Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna do it? I don't know, because like you have to look at people's like portfolios and
get that sweet plane Wi-Fi.
Yeah, man, I've used plane Wi-Fi. It does not like images. And this isn't like continental plane Wi-Fi. This isn't like I'm over the United States the whole time. It's like he's going over the whole ass ocean.
Maybe he just like preloads it all or something.
Maybe, and that'd be smart. He is smart. He probably would do that.
He prints it off and then makes like a pamphlet.
Oh my god, don't even joke about that.
Or like maybe while he's waiting in like the lounge.
Oh
I'm assuming that he like goes to a lounge.
Kelly, you joke, but so the place that I'm working for like 7 months ago is a design studio called IDEO, and the amount of things these people print, oh my god, it's kind of alarming to me.
I thought you said they were a tech company.
So it's hard to describe. IDEO is a global design firm that's been around since, well, it's technically been around since the 60s, but actually in name it's been around since 91. And it started off doing like a ton of industrial design, like it designed the first Apple mouse, stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you ever saw, but there was a TV show called Nightline, and they did like a 30-minute video on IDEO where they had them like redesign the shopping cart. And apparently, like in like more designy worlds, the shopping cart video is like a very famous thing. To the point where I realized I actually saw it in college. I didn't really put that together until later on. But they do a lot in technology. A lot of the companies they've worked with over the years are technology based. They sort of spun off other parts of the business which are explicitly around certain kinds of technology, like circular economy and like blockchain for social good and stuff like that. It's like a really weird place to work because it's like kind of morally good,
right?
Which is alarming. Like I remember, I remember when I first started, one of my big concerns is, so like I'm in New England, Raytheon is everywhere around me, and MIT has been known to dip into like militaristic stuff more than not. So I remember I had a conversation with one of the directors. I'm like, hey, so I'm really curious, like, does IDEO ever get like military contracts? Like, what's up with that? And she just looked at me like, oh no, we don't do anything military. We don't have to.
That's cool.
And I felt really good about that.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have like quit, but I certainly wouldn't have felt so good about it.
Don't need that on your conscience.
Yeah, it's been like really good. I don't know. I think some of the stuff I've learned about the projects that the studio and my studio, the Cambridge studio, and also other studios across the world have done, it's been really kind of really good. I've definitely drunk the Kool-Aid like whole hog. So grain of salt. I guess take everything that I say with a grain of salt.
Well, I mean, I'm not really going to be like Googling it, so I'll just take you at face value.
I don't know. It's kind of cool though. Like they this is a cool thing I've been like showing to a bunch of comics people, and I've had a lot of people like just take a picture of it. It's so brainstorming is a huge part of how projects get done at IDEO. And they have like these rules which I really like. The first of which is one I'm really bad at, which is defer judgment. And it's like it's sort of like, I don't know. Have you ever seen like I don't know what people's like cultural references are when it comes to this shit, but I've gotten so inundated with this visual of like a big piece of foam core, like 12-foot tall foam core with like questions on it and then like a billion sticky notes on it. That is like everywhere at my studio. Because in brainstorm, just like what is the most ridiculous idea that applies, and can we make it happen? And the answer is like kind of not always yes, but sometimes it's yes, and that's weird. I don't know. I shouldn't get too far about like my day job because it's kind of it's like lacking context, and doesn't exactly play into like my comic stuff, but it kind of does.
Yeah.
It kind of does now.
Man, we've been going for an hour already. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know me. I talk a lot.
Yeah. That's right. I did say to Kelly, I was like, "Oh, it's Chatty Zach."
Is there a not Chatty Zach?
Yeah, we have another. There's a handsome Zach.
Hang on now. Okay, who's handsome Zach?
He's Australian. He's a friend of Luke's and the other Australians, and he's just really gorgeous.
But like, I didn't know who you were talking about when you were saying handsome Zach. I was like, no, it doesn't ring a bell.
Wow.
That's what Luke calls him.
That's what Luke calls him. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude.
It's good to know that I'm handsome Zach to no one. That's an exciting thing in life. But no, I'm absolutely Chatty Zach. There's no two ways around that.
No, that's good. I'm glad. I'm glad that I like to just kind of like sit back and listen while people are talking, so I can just like kind of zone out. It's nice.
Yeah. And yeah, sometimes we're feeling a bit burned out, so it's better to let somebody else take the lead, as it were.
Yeah. Especially when I'm like drawing, because like I don't always have the mental capacity to like do two things at once.
Right. Well, I appreciate you trying to spin this in the positive direction for me.
You gas bag.
You gas bag.
Oh, I haven't been called that in ages. I have never been called that.
Well, it's the first time for everything.
It's true, yes. It definitely is.
Anyway, yeah, we could call it a night. I think I'm starting to wind down a bit.
Sure. How far did you get? I haven't actually looked at all.
I didn't get around to animating. I just drew Steve.
That's good.
Yeah, so maybe next time I'll finish it off.
Great.
Yeah, he's looking very handsome though.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks so much for joining me tonight, guys. I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, hopefully we can chat again soon.
Well, if not, I'll see y'all in May.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can take you out for din and karaoke.
Yes,
Oh my goodness,
we
yes.
should
And
definitely do
I'll
that.
make pasta and meatballs for y'all.
Yeah. That'll be good. I will
Yeah.
definitely eat some pasta and meatballs.
Sick.
Yeah.
And then you'll rebrand it to Meatball Zach.
That's fine. Maybe stick with pasta, Zach.
Meatballs, Zach. I like
Meatball
that.
Zach,
It kind of
oh.
rolls off the tongue.
Okay.
Just take it. I'll take it. You know what? I'm gonna take it. That's fine.
All right. All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Alright.
Farewell.